What does a perfume smell like before it even exists? Where does the first spark come from? Before there is a formula, before there's even a sketch, there's inspiration. Welcome to the Scentcast. I'm Dusan, head perfumer at Creating Perfume, and in today's episode, we're diving into one of the most beautiful and often overlooked parts of perfumery, the inspiration. Welcome to the Scentcast, your fragrant companion in the world of perfumery.
We're your hosts, Christy
And Dusan, two perfumers, two friends here to share everything we love about the art of perfumery.
Whether you're just starting out
Or would like to improve your perfumery skills, this podcast is for you.
So tune in while you dilute, organize your materials, or simply dream in scent.
Let's explore materials, methods, perfumery tips and tricks, and everything that inspires us to perfume together.
This is the Scentcast.
Let's perfume. And joining me today is my fellow perfumer and dear friend, Christy. Thank you so much for joining me, Christy.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, this is where it all begins, right? The inspiration in perfumery. Such a fascinating topic. And definitely it's like my cup of tea, maybe coffee, since you know how much I love
Yes,
coffee.
I do.
And, one of the most overlooked steps I feel in creation is actually this one, like the inspiration. A lot of beginners just want to make something that smells good or crowd pleasing, but they often skip this first step. And the truth is, in my opinion, perfumery, just like painting or writing or composing music, starts with a feeling, like a spark. So that invisible idea. And while perfumery involves chemistry and structure, it is also deeply artistic. You know what, Christy? I just love, there is this one quote that I really love that I want to share with everyone. It's a quote by Lorinda Mamo, I believe. Hopefully, I pronounced that one correct. And she says, every great design begins with an even better story. And that resonates with me in perfumery as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought maybe today we could talk about where inspiration actually comes from, because the more you recognize your own sources, the more powerful and personal your creations can be, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yes. When it comes to the ideas or where the inspiration comes from, like the first thing that really comes to my mind would be the emotions or memories. So it's something that we can all relate to. A fragrance can like be a time capsule. It can bottle a moment, place, or a time, or even a person. Whether it's feeling of safety, longing, celebration, or even like heartbreaks and emotions are one of the richest places to start from. So, Chrissy, have you ever started with a feeling like, for example, joy, nostalgia, or peace, and then just follow that into a fragrance idea?
Absolutely. I think moments is huge for me.
Mm,
I can think back to, I don't know, being young in my 20s, working at a department store in the fragrance department, and those long Tuesday nights where no one's in the store, so you're walking around just sniffing what's at the counters. I
right.
did that a lot, and years later now I look back on those times and I remember the smells that were there, the poison, opium, all
Right.
of the fragrances of that time.
All the good
And
stuff.
yeah, all the good stuff. I still go back there and it
Mm,
makes me feel like I'm home, like it's a new, fresh start, even though it's years and years ago.
yeah.
It gives me confidence. It makes me feel young again. And I love that. I also, with moments, I
Mm,
think about, definitely memories
mm,
and people. My
yeah.
grandmother, especially, she would come in summertime and from Ohio to visit us, many, many states away.
Mm.
And she always brought mint from her garden
Well, that
wrapped in newspaper for her tea. And
Mm.
I always thought that was so strange that there was mint tea at the house, but it was not the same as her mint tea. I can still see it and smell it, and that's a terrific memory for me.
Yeah, how amazing is that? Like, if you were to create a fragrance inspired by that moment, you know exactly what you're gonna use, a mint
Yes,
of some sorts, and then just, I guess, decorate it around with other
yes,
materials. It's a
yes.
great, great way to start off a fragrance. Now, another thing that I feel, for me at least, just objects or
Mm,
materials. So it's something more tactile. And I know
mm,
this may sound weird, but I really often, whenever I am analyzing a material, I like to give it some sort of a feel in terms of texture, if that makes any sense. So, for example, often I would describe a material in a way of how it would feel for me if I were to touch it. For
yes.
example, velvet musk. It, as a matter of fact, the name itself for that node from Elite Essence Labs, it really does a great description of what it is. It's almost like you're touching a velvet. You know, it's another thing. It's what you've touched, like a velvet dress, a leather chair, steaming bowl of tea, for example. All of that
Mm.
can stir emotion and send ideas. And you would be like, oh, I want to recreate the feel and the touch of it all. And the materials can sometimes do that for you. They can all, as I said, for example, if I wanted to do the velvet, I know what type of materials I would possibly pick to depict that feeling of touching the velvet. Or, for example, using just the cold metal touch, I would possibly use a mint or some aldehyde to kind of replicate the feeling of touching a material. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I got my velvet musk on my hand right now,
Oh, wonderful.
and I just smell it, and I think this could be the base of a terrific tea fragrance with
Yeah, absolutely.
some sort of citrus I would
Mhm.
put with that because, well, I mean, this is a base that could go really warm and spicy,
Mm, mm.
like that
Amazing.
sort of tea, or this could
Mhm,
go really citrusy and
mhm.
go with a, I don't know, maybe a black tea with some lemon, some citrus
Oh,
in it.
absolutely. And you see, that is kind of all it really takes to you just basically took a material and used it as an inspiration.
I really like this. I'm grabbing the peppermint
Yeah.
so I can see if I can recreate grandma's tea.
For anyone out there who's might be wondering what Christie's using right now to kind of try to recreate her grandma's peppermint tea, would be the Elite Essence Labs notes, which you can find on creatingperfumestore.com. And I believe that is the peppermint note that you're using and the
The
velvet musk
velvet
note.
musk.
Yes, the
Yes.
velvet musk note.
Oh, I didn't know if this would go together, but I just kind of went with my thought process
Hmm.
about what it is
Hmm.
there's the newspaper that it was wrapped up in that is
Oh.
all part of it. And I guess that's, when you're creating a fragrance from a memory or from a
Mm,
person,
mm.
all of that comes together. It does become part of the sketch. And
It does.
right now, before the sketch, kind of like you said, Dusan, it's a memory before it becomes a sketch. It's
Exactly.
just a thought.
Yes, and it all it takes is just that one spark thought
Yes.
about it, and that can push you towards the right direction, I feel. Or wrong, you never know. That's the beauty of perfumery, I feel. And what you're doing right now, that is another thing that I feel that can inspire people, is just sometimes all it takes is smelling a new material in your repertoire. Like getting
Yes.
something new and just smelling it. And we did this before, haven't we? Like to where,
Yes.
yeah, we would just get excited about a material and
Right.
then just feel like, oh, what would be good with this? And that can be an inspiration on its own, right?
Absolutely. This is really, really fun. I guess this is
Yeah.
where we have our most fun.
Exactly. I just like that, especially with the new materials that we test. I like to do that, to just sit down and see, well, where would this fit? And now there is another thing that I feel that is really worth mentioning, and it's places and travel. And I think
Mm.
that places are filled with scents, like for example, like humid jungle air. I mean, if you were
Right.
to visit a jungle, or crisp alpine woods, a spice
Yes.
market, a seaside breeze, for example, when you're going to the beach. The travel has a way of imprinting itself on your senses. And if you want to
Yeah.
go back to that memory to bottle it up, this would be a great thing to do, to take the places you visited on your travels and then
Yes.
just transcribe that into scent, if that makes any sense. And Christy, I know you had a story from Italy that fits this perfectly, so would you like to share it with everyone else so that we can see how we can turn that into a possible fragrance? For example, just give an example of how we can use one of these inspirations to make a fragrance.
Well, I can definitely say that I went with the intention to Italy
Hmm.
with the idea of really being conscious of what that area had as far as sights and scents. And I would write them down in the evening. And one of them that I remember distinctly was it was Florence, and going into some of the shops. There was so much jasmine everywhere, but this particular shop had a complete archway that was covered in jasmine. And going in through that door, of course, it's crowds, it's busy, as you can imagine. So
Hmm.
you brush up against the jasmine. So not only are you smelling the oils released from the flowers, but the leaves that are getting crushed as you go through. And it was just such a beautiful memory for me. And I made sure to write that down. And I'm still working on that fragrance,
Oh
just the
wow.
lush greenery and the jasmine together is just such a strong memory and so special to me. I want to continue to go with all the cities I went to.
Right. And you see, so from that single moment, you smell the lush greenery, the blooming jasmine, perhaps even, I don't know, because like I did went to Italy as well, into the hot
Mhm.
cobblestones on the street as you visited the places, because Italy is just absolutely gorgeous place to visit. So listen, if you're just to write it all down, you would have like the notes for the fragrance, like lush greenery, jasmine, cobblestones,
Yes.
all of this kind of almost gives you a direction for your inspiration or the fragrance that you want to make, which is what you're doing right away. So you can just sit down at your perfumery desk or wherever you keep your materials and start smelling some materials that might work for that type of fragrance that will be reminiscent of your trip to Italy.
When it comes from a place of emotion or
Mm.
moments in your life or occasions, it really resonates with you. And I think if it resonates with you, it will resonate as genuine to others.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what sets up a good, well, that now there's question, what is a good fragrance or not? It's a thing of
Mm.
taste, but you can almost tell like if there was a good amount of thought given into what inspired a fragrance versus something that was just created to smell nice, if that makes any sense.
It makes
So
sense. Absolutely.
that's the artistry of it all, I feel. So here's the thing. Now, if you're listening to what Christy and I are just talking about, and if you're still not sure where to start, here's an exercise. Think of a moment or a place that meant something to you. Write down 5 words, just 5 words to describe it. What did you see? What did you smell? What did you feel or hear? Those 5 words, that's your starting point. That is your inspiration. And in one of our upcoming videos, we'll show you how to take an inspiration and sketch it into a fragrance idea so that you can kind of see it in action, if that makes any sense. Now you know. Perfumery doesn't have to start with, oh, let's create something that smells nice and popular. Great works of art, including perfume, in my opinion, start with that spark: imagination, emotion, memory, and love of fragrance and creation. Because I feel that's very, very important.
I
Christy,
can't wait to get some notes out.
oh,
It's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
We would love to chat with you about your experiences, about your moments and memories. Please leave us a comment in the comments section so you can just be part of this journey.
Well, thank you, Christy, for joining me today, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.